This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're gonna acknowledge me.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Main Event Review. Thank you very much for tuning in. As normal, we'll go through the Raw segments on a pretty entertaining Raw. Overall, obviously, we don't have the full Raw episode to go through. It was a really, really good Monday Night Raw. It was probably one of the best Monday Night Raws of the year, to be honest, with so much stuff that happened that we'll obviously go through. But you had the tournament matches. You had, obviously, John Cena winning the Intercontinental Championship. You had the Kabuki Warriors winning the Women's Tag Team Championships. And a lot of stuff that's obviously leading up towards War Games, which is probably the main thing we're going to be talking about on those Raw segments and on this episode. But it was great to see that they came back with an episode like this, because I think they were in dire need of a really good wrestling episode, because it's been a while since, especially on SmackDown and Raw, there has been some good traction or good things that have happened. There has been a lot of complaints with sort of attendance and ticket sale prices, and I think they really needed to land heavy on a good episode, and I think Monday Night Raw did that, and yeah, to the relief, I think, of everyone, and also Triple H especially, I think it went well. So that's something that I wanted to address first off. And quickly just sort of addressing the comeback of Zack Ryder, which I didn't like. I liked the idea of them going back to sort of obviously what he was at WWE, but right now he is Matt Cardona. So I don't know why he didn't just come out to Matt Cardona. But again, I don't think we're going to be seeing Edge and Chris Jericho. As mentioned, I felt that if it wasn't going to be them, it was going to be someone like Matt Cardona. Potentially tomorrow, it could be Antonio Cesaro. It could be Nick Nemeth, or they might just call him Dolph Ziggler. And probably, most likely, Joe Hendry, I think, will be tomorrow's opponent. Solo Sikoa's opponent, for tomorrow, is going to be my sort of prediction based on what happened on SmackDown as well. But again, we've heard that and thought I'd just review that quickly before we go on to main event. The first match of the main event, which was Kid Wilson taking on Carmelo Hayes, Carmelo Hayes, is he a babyface now? Looks like he is, but it hasn't really been fully confirmed. I guess The Miz did turn on him, but I suppose he's a babyface now. And he takes on a Kid Wilson who continues to go solo without Elton Prince, and I think he's going to be a solo superstar. They've got his own theme music, which was a bit of a change, and obviously his toxic masculinity angle that he keeps going off at Superstars about is what's sort of keeping him afloat at the moment. But yeah, he gets on main event and he takes on Carmelo Hayes in a pretty quick match. We had Carmelo Hayes, the right person, getting the victory here with the Nothing But Net. I really like the finishing move and the name of it. It's very creative, and that's going to obviously give Carmelo Hayes momentum against Bronson Reed in the John Cena Last Time Is Now tournament. And I'm not saying that Carmelo Hayes is going to be part of the Vision or join the Survivor Series camp, but I did see the way that Paul Heyman was looking at Carmelo Hayes after Bronson Reed sort of spoke to him backstage on SmackDown. And the only reason why I bring it up is because I think Carmelo Hayes is someone that probably needs a push, and someone like Paul Heyman, maybe not on the mic, but just as sort of mentorship and him being a young superstar, could really have someone like Paul Heyman to help him out with that, is what I'm getting to. And I know that fifth member for War Games is most likely going to be Brock Lesnar. I'm hoping it is. We could see someone like Carmelo Hayes, or they've obviously floated around the idea of Austin Theory becoming members of the Vision. So just some detail that I looked into. Maybe I overlooked into it, but they are going to go up against each other, and it just seems as though that's too random for me to think anything of it, that they would have chose a young ascending superstar in Carmelo Hayes, who's obviously not really getting as much traction as he could, because I think he's someone that's really, really good in the ring, someone that is was a first round pick as well, which I think they should use that as a big stepping stone for him. And I think he's got a lot more to offer in the WWE at the moment. That a simple Miz sort of feud is not enough. I think Miz is great to elevate superstars, but he isn't someone that is going to turn the edge on someone like Carmelo Hayes as he presently stands at the moment. I know a few years back he was, because he was winning Grand Slam championships and was in part of the sort of Intercontinental Championship minds of people, but at the moment he's just nothing more than a jobber at this stage and just someone to really help people in the background. But he's still doing a good job in putting over superstars. I just don't think he'll be able to put them as over as he did in the past. But again, we'll keep tabs on Carmelo Hayes. Again, it's victory against Bronson Reed, who I do suppose Bronson Reed will win the match, but it's just compelling that storyline there, and still keeping tabs on Carmelo Hayes and having the opportunity to talk about him on this episode as well is always good too. We then have the opening part of the show, which is obviously John Cena coming out. We had Triple H coming in, basically saying that humans have all opinions, and that you can measure stuff in different ways, ability in the ring, charisma, promos. And I don't know why he was trying to come in here. I think he was basically trying to sort of introduce John Cena, but at the same time address some of the stuff that's happening online. And yeah, I think that's pretty much why he came out. Did we need him out there? Probably not, but again, it wasn't the worst thing to see him out there as well. But we did have John Cena come out, greeted by a massive crowd, obviously his home city of Massachusetts and Boston. And basically he mentioned how his last time now tournament, and mentioning all about that, essentially people are going to be trying to compete with him in the last match. He basically said that it's a night to close one chapter, but it's also a night of opportunity, seeing that NXT superstars, people from obviously TNA and the main roster are going to have the chance to be on the brightest of lights to face John Cena. And basically he's saying that he's excited to see who the person is to retire them, but he's definitely going to obviously kick their ass and stuff and whatnot. And he did mention that he wanted to come to Boston one more time. He had no plans or had no say in which dates and which towns are booked, but he did say he just wanted to come to Boston. And he said it means a lot for him to see the banners and the rafters and see the greatness of the building. Basically, he's mentioning the Boston Celtics, who are a very successful NBA franchise with the most NBA championships there. But basically, he did just want to come out and say thank you so much. And that's where Dom Mysterio interfered, which wasn't a big surprise. I think it was teased a long time ago, but also most recently by Dom Mysterio. So when he did come out, there was no surprise element to it. It was great to see that he did come out and we got to see a program between Mysterio and John Cena. He basically said to John Cena that he is the Mega Campeon and the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. He complained about his celebration being interrupted by a deadbeat, referencing obviously Rey Mysterio. And he said that he's the person that interrupts old men, not the other way around. And that's when Cena said that he got off on the wrong foot, tried it again, welcomed Dominic to Boston, said that, Dom said that it's not about Cena or Boston. So he told Cena to sit in the corner and let grown folk talk business, basically talking to Triple H, who was still there. And then Cena mentioned that he forgot where he was and forgot who he was talking to, because he's Cena and he's in Boston. He said that on any other night or any other city, he'd give him another chance, but not tonight. He also said that Cena feels invincible. He said that if Dom wants to pick a fight with him, then he will lose. As he said, wrong place, wrong time. And then he basically said that he gave him one more chance to just walk away out of the respect of his father, Rey Mysterio. And then Dom basically said that he'll need more than magic to touch him, because he's not even at his peak yet, and he's better than he ever was at Cena's prime, which is just so funny. Like, how can you not love Dom Mysterio? Like, seriously. And then basically he said that any place, any time, any era, he could defeat John Cena. And that's when Triple H interrupted, agreed with a lot of people in Boston, basically to the "you effed up" chants. And then Triple H basically said any time, any place, any era, saying that it seems like a pretty good era, a good place, and one hell of a time. And that's where Triple H books the match with John Cena for the Intercontinental Championship. And that's where we have the match where basically you had the referee out of the game, or out of the match. John Cena put Dominic Mysterio for an STF where he did tap out, no referee in place. Then a ref did come in after an AA, but there was a near fall. And then we had Dom hitting the 619 and the frog splash. And as you thought that Dominic Mysterio found another way to win, John Cena, as Mysterio did the splash, picked him up, flipped around, done the AA, and we have a new Intercontinental Champion in John Cena, which Matt mentioned it, and I'm in full agreement with him. I think that this is a bit of a reach. I love John Cena, don't get me wrong. I've always wanted John Cena to be a Grand Slam champion. I feel like obviously his career has proven that he does deserve this, but I just don't like the idea of them just handing it out. It feels like such a charitable championship win. Like, Dom Mysterio is literally and was the only heel champion across all the brands for the men's. And now you've given it to John Cena, where Dom Mysterio was doing a great job as the Intercontinental Champion. He was doing an unbelievable work with the ways he was sort of cheating, and people were really loving him as the champion. So I don't see why they would do this other than just giving John Cena that sort of title that he was a Grand Slam champion, basically solidifying that he is the GOAT. Again, bit of a reach is what I'll say. Again, I respect that John Cena was handed the title, but again, at the same time, it's really hard for me to relate to it and really like support it, because it just seems so obvious that it was just a reach. So whether they give Dom Mysterio a world title shot, or whether John Cena gives this title belt up as soon as possible, obviously now it looks like the last time is now tournament will be for the Intercontinental title, unless John Cena does wrestle tomorrow at Madison Square Garden, which it is said that he is confirmed to do that. We'll have to wait and see now, because it's just changed everything. I don't really like it. So yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. No one's going to really complain because it is John Cena, but I hope Dominic Mysterio doesn't get damaged by this, and it's not just seen as something that's just going to happen just for that sake, which it is. But yeah, I've got no other words than that, to be honest, for this. But happy for John Cena, I would say, because it is John Cena. How can you not be? But at the same time, just feels like a massive, massive reach. We then move on to CM Punk. So CM Punk comes into the ring saying that he was pissed off because he got sucker punched by that piece of garbage, Logan Paul. He said that Paul isn't going to get a shot at the title, but he's going to fight him. Basically trashed Paul's broccoli-headed millennial look and told him to come out here. Basically called him out. And that's where Logan Paul came into the ring, outside the ring, made his entrance and said that he's not just smarter than Punk, he's smarter than everyone in the building. He wanted Punk wanted Paul to get in the ring, but he said he's been punched in the face by the greatest boxer of all time, but it was nothing compared to Bronson Reed's Tsunami, which is a quite decent line to put someone over by Logan Paul, so quite impressive. But basically, Paul said he thought he knew it all, but after taking the Tsunami, his eyes opened to a whole new vision, so that was a pretty smart line. And then that's when Paul Heyman came out, joined by the Vision as well, basically telling Punk he's the single most unlikable human being that he's ever met. He said that Punk is friendless, and said that it's because Punk betrays his friends and he knows it as Punk's former friend. He also said it is miserable, a rotten bastard, and the most unlikable person. And there couldn't be a more unlikable person unless their name was AJ Lee. And that's when Punk basically replied to that, saying that he'd leave them all in a pool of their own piss and blood. Which, yeah, again, say what you think of that. But I think I really like what Paul Heyman was doing here. And Punk did chuck a bit of a laugh there. And that's when all the Vision came into the ring. And that's where Jey Uso came and stood beside CM Punk. And then we got Cody Rhodes' music. And, like, why? I know he's the face. And this initial reaction is obviously after I saw what happened on SmackDown, where Drew McIntyre got involved, and he's obviously going to be part of War Games, which makes sense, which gives me a reason why Cody Rhodes came in. But, like, why have Cody Rhodes interfere there to make that hype and make it exciting when he had nothing to do with that. Like, at that point, he had nothing to do with the vision. He was on another brand. Jimmy Uso signed up for it, so why not have Jimmy Uso, the person, that come in with the three of them, and then you can have, I'm just being a booking mind right now, you could have Paul Heyman randomly coming up to SmackDown backstage talking to Nick Aldis, and then that whole segment where Paul Heyman basically manipulated Cody Rhodes to have a match with Bronson Reed for the title. They could have done that, and then that's when Drew McIntyre could have came in and that whole plan could have came along. Because if they're invading the show, that's where Cody Rhodes has a right to say, what are you doing here? But this was just like basically saying, all right, we need Cody Rhodes in here. We need the face of the company involved. And that's how I took it. And yeah, again, he's involved. Fine. Like, it obviously makes sense now with Drew McIntyre. But I just didn't like the idea of him coming into that and just getting himself involved in something that I don't think he needed to be involved in, if I'm being quite frank, at that point. But yeah, this pretty much obviously sets up War Games. Now we've got 4-on-4. So talking about Drew McIntyre, talking about Jimmy Uso, who got announced on SmackDown. I think we're going to see Randy Orton. It could be LA Knight, but it could be either of the two. I think it would make the most sense. Would love it to be John Cena. That would be pretty awesome, but I don't think that's going to happen. He is scheduled to participate in War Games, so maybe. But I think on the other side, we are looking at Brock Lesnar or like one of those younger superstars that Paul Heyman recruits. But the most sense would be to have Brock Lesnar there and Randy Orton to like get involved in that sort of eventual feud that we're going to have with Cody Rhodes. I think that's going to happen very soon, to sort of close off War Games 5v5. But we'll wait and see who the fifth members are going to be, because most of it's been pretty much wrapped up for War Games in terms of the 4v4. But again, we'll hold that till then as well. Off topic, I'm really hoping there is like a second War Games men's match, because what's happening on SmackDown is pretty cool. Everyone's after the MFTs, and they do have 5 members. So why not potentially have something with them for War Games, maybe against the White Six, or against that sort of makeshift crew that Sami Zayn has created with Rey Fenix, Shinsuke Nakamura, etc. So, yeah, we'll keep tabs on that still. But we move on to Main Event, where we had the New Day taking on our favourites, the Alpha Academy. Every single week they're on here. Not really doing much on the main roster, but doing a lot on Main Event. So, always good to talk about them and bring them up in these conversations. But the way the match sort of ended, we had this typical sort of tag team structure where the heel team was dominating. We had the hot tag from Otis. But the way the match ended was Grayson Waller taking Akira Tozawa out and behind the back of the referee. And then we had Xavier Woods doing a, like, on the apron elbow to Otis to take him out the game. And then set up for their finisher with the sort of, I don't know, I think it's the sort of something day, but it looks like a coup de grace for me, pretty much. Just a more sort of backbreaker shift into a coup de grace, where they do get the victory, and they made the right decision here. The New Day is obviously not doing much, which is frustrating, but at least they're getting a victory here. But I'm waiting for them to do stuff with the New Day. They had that world title run. They had so much heat coming off the back of turning on Big E and having that massive heel turn, and there's just been no payoff for it. Like, they won that world title and nothing happened after that. Like, why would they do that then? Like, why would they create so much hype and then there's no payoff? There's no thing to suggest that this heel run was worth it. Like, you might as well have just made them both baby faces. If you're going to do a heel turn that big, you best hope that there's going to be some traction from it. And there just seems to be none of that, which is just super frustrating. But again, they get momentum. Who knows? Something could change. But the Raw Tag Team division is quite rough at the moment. Hopefully AJ Styles and Dragon Lee can fix it up and actually be fighting champions. We hope. And then we finish up with the Women's Tag Team Championship match. Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair taking on the Kabuki Warriors. The way the match ended, we had Lash Legend and Nia Jax come in to interfere with the match. And that's how they managed to basically get attacked from the behind, or Alexa Bliss to get attacked behind by Kairi Sane. And then that left Charlotte Flair 2-on-1 in the ring. And that's where basically they set up for the insane elbow. And basically that led to the victory for the Kabuki Warriors, which I do like the booking. I think the Kabuki Warriors have been doing a really solid job since they've turned heel. So I don't mind this. And as mentioned, I did sort of see that they were going to have a major involvement in War Games. So after the match, we had the Kabuki Warriors escaped the ring as Alexa Bliss was trying to attack him. That's where Nia Jackson, Lash Legend, came in and started blowing on Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair, with the Kabuki Warriors going back into the ring and helping out with the attack. And that's where Io Sky came in to sort of help, and there was a pretty big pop there. She tried to hold out strikes, but basically the Kabuki Warriors started attacking Sky, and she was obviously outnumbered. And that's when Rhea Ripley came out with that face mask. Obviously, she has a broken nose. She started hitting some punches and kicks. The other girls came in, and basically Rhea Ripley then gave a razor's edge to Sane as they got the upper hand. And then that's when Rhea Ripley yelled into the mic when she took it out, War Games. And basically, War Games is set up. We're not going to, we don't know the fifth member for War Games, but obviously Charlotte Flair is sort of 50-50 on if she wants to join or not. I think she will, but again, that's something to keep an eye on for this sort of War Games women's storyline. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up this week's episode of the main event. Like I said, most of it has tied up into War Games, which is going to be really exciting. That's happening soon, so we'll find out who the fifth members are. We'll also find out who will advance in the Last Time Is Now tournament. We had Sheamus defeating Shinsuke Nakamura and Rusev defeating Damian Priest. We also had on the SmackDown side LA Knight defeating Zack Ryder. And yeah, we're getting close. So look out for that. And we'll continue to review Main Event on a weekly basis and see how things go. But again, it's been your boy Daniel. You listened to another episode of the Main Event Review. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys next week.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.